The great arena of Nexus Station sat at the center of the galaxy. It was the largest structure ever built by any species. Millions of beings from 1,000 worlds came here to watch the greatest warriors fight. The arena could hold 200,000 spectators, and today every seat was filled. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the edge of the human section. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Behind her sat 500 humans, all watching the massive screens that showed the fighting pit below. The pit was circular, 300 meters wide, covered in fine white sand. "They really want to do this?" asked Colonel Marcus Drake. He stood beside the ambassador, his arms crossed over his chest. Drake was tall and broad, with dark skin and a shaved head. Scars covered his knuckles from decades of combat. "The Korath High Council issued a formal challenge," Chen Wei said. "They believe humans are weak. They think we hide behind our technology. They want to prove that in pure physical combat we are nothing." Drake laughed. It was not a happy sound. "They have no idea what they are asking for." On the other side of the arena, the Korath delegation filled their section. The Korath were massive beings, each one standing over 3 meters tall. Their skin was thick and gray, like stone. 4 arms grew from their barrel-shaped bodies, and their heads were flat with small, dark eyes. They were the greatest warriors in the known galaxy. No species had ever defeated them in single combat. The Korath champion stood in the center of the pit. His name was Brack, and he had killed 200 opponents in ritual combat. He raised all 4 arms to the crowd, and the Korath section roared with approval. "Our champion is ready," said High Lord Thorvak. He was the oldest Korath, his gray skin marked with countless battle scars. "Where is your human fighter? Does your species lack the courage to face us?" Ambassador Chen Wei smiled. "Our champion is coming." A door opened at the base of the arena. A single human walked out onto the sand. The crowd fell silent. The human was a woman. She was not tall. She was not broad. She looked tiny compared to the massive Korath champion. Her name was Master Li Meihua, and she was 73 years old. Her hair was white, pulled back in a simple knot. She wore loose black clothing that covered her thin frame. The Korath began to laugh. It started small, then spread through their entire section. Soon 200,000 beings were making sounds of amusement. An old human female against their greatest champion. This was an insult. "Is this a joke?" High Lord Thorvak demanded. "You send an elder female against Brack. This is mockery." "This is respect," Ambassador Chen Wei replied. "Master Li is our greatest living martial artist. She has studied combat for 60 years. She has mastered 17 fighting styles. On Earth, she is considered a living treasure." Thorvak made a sound of disgust. "She will die in seconds." In the pit, Brack looked down at the small human. He could crush her with one hand. His 4 arms were each as thick as her entire body. He had fought beings twice his size and broken them apart. "Little human," Brack said, his voice deep and rumbling. "You may leave now. I do not wish to kill an elder. It brings no honor." Master Li looked up at him. Her face showed no fear. Her eyes were calm like still water. "I thank you for your concern," she said, "but I did not come here to leave." The referee, a tall insectoid being from the Zil Collective, stepped forward. "This is a challenge match under the old laws. Combat continues until one fighter yields or cannot continue. There are no weapons allowed. There are no rules beyond this. Do both fighters understand?" "I understand," Brack said. "I understand," Master Li said. "Then begin." Brack did not wait. He was a warrior, and warriors attacked. His upper right arm swung toward the small human with enough force to break stone. The blow would crush her skull and end this farce immediately. His fist hit nothing but air. Master Li was no longer there. She had moved, but Brack had not seen it. One moment she stood before him. The next moment she stood beside him. Her small hand touched his arm as it passed, and suddenly Brack was spinning. His own momentum carried him forward and he stumbled. The arena fell silent. Brack recovered quickly. He was a champion. He had fought thousands of battles. He swung again, this time with two arms at once. The human could not dodge both. But she did not dodge. She stepped forward into his attack under his arms. Her palm pressed against his chest. It was a gentle touch, almost soft. Then something happened that Brack did not understand. Force exploded through his body. It came from her palm, traveled through his chest, and threw him backward. He flew 3 meters through the air and crashed into the sand. The Korath section went completely quiet. "What was that?" High Lord Thorvek whispered. "What did she do?" Ambassador Chen Wei's smile grew wider. "That is called Fa Jin. It is an internal energy technique from Chinese martial arts. Master Li has practiced it for 50 years. Brack rose from the sand. His chest hurt. He could feel where her palm had touched him and the skin burned. No one had ever thrown him before. No one had ever hurt him with a simple touch. "You are more than you appear," Brack said. "Good. I was afraid this would be too easy." He attacked again, faster this time. His 4 arms became a blur of motion. Any other being in the galaxy would have been torn apart by his assault. His fists could break steel. His grip could crush bone. Master Li flowed around his attacks like water around stone. She did not block. She did not resist. She simply was not where his fists landed. Each strike missed by centimeters. Each grab closed on empty air. Then she began to strike back. Her fingers found the joints in his arms. Her palms pressed against nerve clusters that even Korath medical science did not fully understand. Each touch sent pain shooting through Brack's body. Each strike disrupted his balance and his control. "What is she doing?" Thorvek demanded. "This is not fighting, this is something else." "This is martial arts," Ambassador Chen Wei said, "and this is why humans invented them." Colonel Drake nodded slowly. "The Korath are stronger than us, faster, bigger. In a straight fight they would win every time, so humans learned to not fight straight. We learned to use the enemy's strength against them. We learned to find weakness in every body. We learned to turn combat into an art." In the pit, Master Li continued her lesson. The fight had lasted only 3 minutes, but to the watching crowd it felt like hours. Every being in the arena stared at the screens, unable to believe what they were seeing. Brack the Destroyer, champion of the Korath Empire, was losing to a human elder female. Blood ran from Brack's nose. His left arm hung useless at his side. Master Li had done something to the nerves there, and now he could not feel it at all. His breathing was heavy, and sweat dripped from his gray skin. Master Li stood before him, calm and still. She had not been hit once. Her breathing was slow and even. She waited for his next attack as if she had all the time in the universe. "How?" Brack asked. His voice was rough with pain. "How do you do this?" "I do not do anything," Master Li said. "You attack, I receive, you push, I redirect. You fight yourself and I simply help." Brack roared with anger. He charged forward with all his remaining strength. His 3 working arms swung with enough power to break mountains. This tiny human had shamed him before his people. He would crush her or die trying. Master Li moved. It was not fast, it was not slow. It was simply perfect. She stepped to the side, took his wrist in her old hands, and turned. Brack's momentum became her weapon. His strength became his enemy. He flipped through the air, spinning end over end, and crashed into the sand so hard that the ground shook. He did not get up. The referee stepped forward and examined the fallen champion. Brack is unable to continue. The victory goes to the human champion. The human section exploded with cheers. 500 voices rose in celebration. On the screens, the image of tiny Master Li standing over the massive Korath champion played again and again. High Lord Thorvek was silent. His dark eyes stared at the pit, at his fallen champion, at the small human woman who had destroyed everything his people believed about strength. "One match proves nothing," he finally said. "Perhaps this old female is special. Perhaps she used tricks. We demand more fights. We will show that humans are weak." Ambassador Chen Wei bowed her head politely. "Of course, High Lord, we brought more champions. How many fights would you like?" The Korath Council met quickly. They spoke in their rough language, gesturing at the pit, at the human section, at Master Li, who still stood calmly on the sand. 10 fights, Thorvak declared. 10 of our greatest warriors against 10 of your humans. When we win the majority, all will know that the Korath are supreme." "We accept," Chen Wei said. The second Korath warrior entered the pit. His name was Vorn, and he was younger than Brack, faster and hungrier for glory. He stood 2.5 meters tall, his 4 arms thick with muscle. Master Li walked slowly out of the pit. Her part was done. As she passed Ambassador Chen Wei, she bowed. "They still do not understand," Master Li said quietly. "They see strength as the only path. They have never needed to learn another way." "And that is why we will teach them," Chen Wei replied. "Rest now, Master, your lesson was perfect." The second human champion stepped onto the sand. His name was James Okonkwo, and he was from Nigeria. He was 35 years old, tall and lean, with skin dark as night. He moved with a predator's grace, each step careful and measured. Vorn laughed when he saw his opponent. "At least this one looks like a fighter. The old female was an insult." "That old female defeated your greatest champion in 3 minutes," James said. His voice was calm and deep. "Perhaps you should not underestimate us." "You are not her," Vorn snarled. "Show me what you can do." The referee raised his arm. "Begin." Vorn attacked with speed that surprised even the watching Korath. He was fast, faster than Brack, and he used all 4 arms in a coordinated assault. His fists flew like missiles, targeting head, chest, and legs simultaneously. James did not try to dodge all the attacks. Instead, he blocked. His forearms met the Korath's strikes with precise angles that deflected the force. Each block was minimal, just enough to redirect the blow. His feet shifted on the sand, maintaining perfect balance. "He is using a different style," High Lord Thorvak observed. "Not like the old female." "Correct," Ambassador Chen Wei said. "James Okonkwo is a master of Damb and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Damb is an ancient Nigerian boxing art. Jiu-Jitsu is a ground fighting system developed in Brazil but based on Japanese techniques." "Why do your fighters use different styles?" Thorvak asked. "Because humans do not have one path to victory. We have thousands. Every culture on Earth developed its own way of fighting. Every human body is different, and every human finds what works for them." In the pit, James made his move. He had been studying Vorn's patterns, learning his rhythms. Now he acted. He slipped inside Vorn's guard, caught one of the Korath's wrists, and twisted. The sound of joints straining filled the arena. Vorn screamed in surprise and pain. James had his arm locked, bending it in a direction it was not meant to go. "Yield," James said calmly. "Never." Vorn tried to strike with his other arms, but James spun around his body, maintaining the lock while avoiding the blows. He moved like a dancer, always exactly where he needed to be. The lock tightened. More sounds of stress came from Vorn's arm. "Your arm will break in 4 seconds, James informed him. 3, 2. "I yield," Vorn screamed. "I yield." James released him immediately and stepped back. The fight had lasted less than 2 minutes. The human section cheered again. The Korath section was silent as stone. 2 victories for humans, the referee announced. High Lord Thorvak's face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the edge of his seat until the metal bent. "Send in Krath," he ordered. "No more young warriors, send our veterans." Krath was old for a Korath, over 200 years. His gray skin was covered in scars from a century of battles. He had killed more opponents than he could count. He entered the pit slowly, studying the human before him. James bowed respectfully and left the arena. The third human champion took his place. Her name was Natasha Volkov, and she was from Russia. She was 40 years old with short blonde hair and cold blue eyes. Unlike the previous fighters, she looked dangerous even standing still. Something in her stance promised violence. "You have hard eyes," Krath observed. "You have killed." "Many times," Natasha replied. "In many ways." "What style do you practice?" "Sambo, Systema, Krav Maga," she smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "I collect effective techniques the way others collect art. When something works, I keep it." "I think I will enjoy this fight," Krath said. "I think you will not," Natasha replied. The fight began, and it was different from the others. Natasha did not wait. She did not flow or redirect. She attacked with explosive violence, targeting vulnerable points with strikes designed to end fights quickly. Her elbow crashed into Krath's throat. Her knee drove into the joint of his leg. Her fist found his eyes. She fought with brutal efficiency, each movement calculated for maximum damage. Krath had never faced anything like this. His opponents usually tried to overpower him with strength. This human female attacked like a predator, seeking weakness, exploiting every opening. He managed to grab her arm, but she twisted out of his grip in a way that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. Her body bent at strange angles, slipping through holds that should have been inescapable. "Your joints are different from ours," Krath realized. "You are more flexible." "Humans have many advantages," Natasha said. She drove her thumb into a nerve cluster on his wrist, and his hand went numb. "We are weaker than you, slower, but we are precise. We know every weakness of every body. We spent 10,000 years learning how to kill things bigger than us." She dropped low, swept his legs, and as he fell, she struck his temple with her palm. The blow was perfectly timed, perfectly placed. Krath's eyes rolled back and he collapsed unconscious. 3 fights, 3 human victories. The Korath Council was in chaos. Their warriors were the greatest in the galaxy. Their strength was legendary. How were these soft, weak humans defeating them? "It is not possible," one council member said. "They must be using hidden weapons." "No weapons," the referee confirmed. "I have scanned them all. They carry nothing but their bodies." "Then they are enhanced," another suggested. "Modified genetics, implants." Ambassador Chen Wei shook her head. "All of our fighters are baseline humans. No modifications, no enhancements, just training." "Training?" Thorvak's voice was sharp with disbelief. "You expect me to believe that training alone allows your weak species to defeat Korath warriors?" "High Lord," Chen Wei said quietly, "let me tell you why humans invented martial arts." The arena remained packed as the 4th fight began. Word had spread through Nexus Station about what was happening. Beings from dozens of species crowded around screens in every bar and shop, watching the impossible unfold. Ambassador Chen Wei stood before High Lord Thorvak, her voice calm and clear. Behind her, another human champion prepared to enter the pit. "Humans are weak," Chen Wei said. "This is a fact we have always known. We have no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no armor. Our ancestors lived on a world filled with predators who could kill us easily. We were prey." "So you admit your weakness," Thorvak said. "I admit our starting point," Chen Wei replied. "But humans refused to be prey. We could not change our bodies, so we changed our methods. We studied the predators. We learned how they attacked, how they defended, how they lived and died. And then we figured out how to beat them." In the pit, the 4th Korath warrior faced a human man named Kenji Tanaka. Kenji was from Japan, 60 years old, with white hair and a face like weathered leather. He was a master of Aikido and Judo, arts that specialized in throwing and joint locks. "Begin," the referee called. The Korath attacked with overhead strikes, bringing all four arms down like hammers. Kenji stepped to the side, caught two of the arms, and redirected the force into the ground. The Koreth stumbled forward off balance. Aikido teaches us to blend with the attack, Kenji explained as he moved. We do not resist. We accept the enemy's force and guide it where we want it to go. The Koreth swung again. Kenji turned, taking the arm with him, and threw the massive alien over his hip. The throw was perfect, using the Koreth's own momentum against him. He crashed into the sand with a heavy thud. You see, Chenwei continued, humans developed martial arts because we had to. Every village, every tribe, every culture faced the same problem. How do we survive when we are weaker than our enemies? And every culture found answers. On the screens, Kenji demonstrated another throw. The Koreth was getting frustrated, swinging wildly. Each wild swing gave Kenji more momentum to use against him. In China, they developed styles based on internal energy and precise strikes. In Japan, they created arts of throwing and submission. In Thailand, they learned to turn their bodies into weapons with devastating kicks and elbows. In Brazil, they perfected fighting on the ground. In Israel, they designed systems for quickly disabling enemies. In Russia, they trained warriors to survive anything. Kenji finished his fight with a complex joint lock that bent the Koreth's arm until he screamed for mercy. 4 victories for humanity. Every style is different, Chenwei said. But they all share one truth. You do not need to be stronger than your enemy to defeat them. You need to be smarter. You need to know their weaknesses better than they know them themselves. You need to turn their strength into your weapon. The 5th Koreth warrior entered the pit. He was massive, even by Koreth standards, standing nearly 4 meters tall. His name was Drak the Mountain, and he had never been defeated. The 5th human champion stepped out to meet him. His name was Carlos Silva, and he was from Brazil. He was short, barely reaching the Koreth's waist, but his body was compact and powerful. He was a master of Brazilian jiu-jitsu and capoeira. This one is even smaller, Drak laughed. Are you trying to insult me? In jiu-jitsu, Carlos said, size does not matter, technique does. The fight began, and Carlos immediately did something that shocked the watching crowd. He dove at Drak's legs, wrapping his arms around the massive limbs. Drak tried to grab him, but Carlos was constantly moving, climbing the Koreth's body like it was a mountain. What is he doing? Thorvak demanded. He is taking the fight to the ground, Chenwei explained. Brazilian jiu-jitsu was developed specifically to defeat larger opponents. The ground is the great equalizer. Size and strength matter less when you cannot stand. Drak fell. Carlos had done something to his balance, and now the giant Koreth was on the sand with a small human wrapped around him like a vine. Carlos's legs locked around Drak's body, and his arms snaked around the Koreth's neck. This is a rear naked choke, Carlos explained calmly. It restricts blood flow to your brain. You will pass out in 8 seconds. You may yield now. Drak struggled, but every movement made the choke tighter. His 4 arms flailed uselessly. He could not reach the human attached to his back. I yield, Drak gasped. Carlos released him and rolled away. 5 fights, 5 human victories. The silence in the Koreth section was absolute. Their undefeated giant had been choked unconscious by a human half his size. Everything they believed about combat was being destroyed. Half your warriors are defeated, Ambassador Chenwei said. Do you wish to continue? High Lord Thorvak's face was hard as stone. We will continue until we win or until we have nothing left to learn. The 6th Koreth was a female named Shara. She was smaller than the males but faster and more cunning. She had won her battles through speed and strategy rather than pure strength. The 6th human was a woman from Thailand named Somchai. She was young, only 25, but she had been training in Muay Thai since she could walk. Her body was covered in lean muscle, and her shins were hardened from years of conditioning. I will not make the same mistakes as the others, Shara said. I will not charge blindly. That is wise, Samchai replied, but it will not save you. This fight was different. Shara circled carefully, studying her opponent. She tested with quick jabs, trying to gauge the human's reactions. Samchai blocked easily, her arms absorbing the strikes without flinching. Muay Thai is called the art of 8 limbs, Ambassador Chen Wei explained. It uses fists, elbows, knees, and shins as weapons. It is brutal and direct, designed for real combat. Samchai began her counterattack. Her kicks were devastating, crashing into Shara's legs with sounds like thunder. Each impact weakened the Korath's stance. Each strike damaged muscle and nerve. Your legs are strong, Samchai said, but they were not built for this. She stepped in close, driving her elbow into Shara's ribs. The Korath gasped and swung wildly. Samchai blocked with her forearm, then drove her knee into Shara's stomach. The assault was relentless. Elbows, knees, and kicks landed in a continuous rhythm. Shara tried to defend, but her forearms could not block attacks from so many angles. Finally, Samchai jumped, driving her knee into Shara's chin. The Korath's head snapped back and she collapsed. 6 victories. The humans had won the challenge without losing a single fight. But High Lord Thorvak was no longer watching. He stood at the edge of the Korath section, his eyes fixed on the human fighters who gathered at the edge of the pit. He saw the old woman who had started this, the Nigerian who fought on the ground, the Russian who attacked like a predator. He saw 6 different styles, 6 different approaches, 6 different paths to victory. And he finally understood. They did not win because they are special, he said quietly. They won because they have spent their entire history learning to defeat beings stronger than themselves. Every generation faced this challenge. Every generation added to their knowledge. We have never needed to learn this. We were always the strongest. Ambassador Chen Wei approached him. High Lord, there is no shame in this. Your people are mighty warriors, but the galaxy is vast and strength alone is not enough. We have 4 fights remaining, Thorvak said. We will learn what we can. The remaining 4 fights were just as one-sided. A master of Wing Chun defeated a Korath with rapid chain punches. A wrestler from Turkey controlled his opponent on the ground with techniques passed down for thousands of years. A practitioner of Kali from the Philippines demonstrated the empty-hand techniques of a weapon-based art. And finally, an old man who had studied dozens of styles showed how different techniques could be combined into something greater. 10 fights, 10 human victories. When it was over, High Lord Thorvak walked onto the sand of the arena. He stood in the center, surrounded by his defeated warriors, and addressed the crowd. The Korath challenged humanity, he said. We believed them weak. We believed their technology made them soft. We were wrong. He turned to face the human section. Humans are not weak. They are something far more dangerous. They are adaptable. They take their weaknesses and transform them into strengths. They face impossible odds and find ways to win. He bowed, a gesture of deep respect that the Korath reserved for only the greatest warriors. Today, we learned why humans invented martial arts. They invented them because they refused to accept weakness. They refused to be prey. They took 10,000 years of survival and turned it into an art form. Ambassador Chen Wei bowed in return. High Lord, your warriors fought with honor. We are grateful for this exchange. Exchange, Thorvak repeated. Yes, I would like to propose an exchange. Send your masters to teach us. Let us learn these arts that have served humanity so well. In return, we will teach you what we know of strength and endurance. Chen Wei smiled. It would be our honor. And so began a new era of cooperation between humans and Korath. The greatest warriors in the galaxy became students of tiny human teachers. They learned that true strength came not from muscle, but from knowledge. They learned that the smallest being could defeat the largest if they understood the principles of combat. 3 years passed since the day Master Li Mei-Hua faced Brack in the arena of Nexus Station. In that time, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Training centers opened on 20 Korath worlds. Human martial arts masters traveled across the stars, teaching ancient techniques to alien warriors. The exchange had grown beyond anything Ambassador Chen Wei had imagined when she proposed it. Master Li herself had retired to a small monastery on the outskirts of Nexus Station. At 76 years old, she had decided her traveling days were over, but her work continued through her students, both human and Korath. Today, she had a visitor. High Lord Thorvek himself had come to her monastery. He no longer looked like the proud warrior who had demanded combat 3 years ago. His gray skin showed new scars from training. His 4 arms moved differently now, with a fluid grace that came from studying human techniques. "Master Li," he said, bowing deeply, "I come to thank you and to share news." "Sit," Master Li said, gesturing to a cushion on the floor. "Tell me your news." Thorvek sat awkwardly. The cushion was made for humans, not for beings his size, but he did not complain. "The Vrex Dominion attacked 3 of our colony worlds last month," he said. "The Vrex are strong, even stronger than the Korath. They have 6 arms and acid blood. They have conquered many species through pure force." "And what happened when they met your warriors?" Thorvek smiled. It was a strange expression on his alien face. "They lost. For the first time in their history, the Vrex lost a ground battle. Our warriors used the techniques your people taught us. We redirected their strength. We exploited their weaknesses. We turned their power against them." "I am glad," Master Li said, "but I sense there is more to your news." "The Vrex have requested a meeting," Thorvek said. "They want to learn. They want to know how we defeated them. They have asked if human masters would teach them as well." Master Li laughed softly. "So the students become teachers and the defeated become students. This is the cycle of martial arts. Knowledge spreads like ripples in water." "There is something else," Thorvek said. His voice grew serious. "The Galactic Council has noticed what is happening. They have seen how human martial arts have changed the balance of power. Some of them are concerned." "Concerned about what?" "About humanity, about what your species represents." Thorvek leaned forward. "Master Li, in 3 years, human fighting techniques have spread to over 40 species. Every species that learns these arts becomes more effective in combat. The Council wonders, what else do humans know? What other knowledge are you hiding?" Master Li was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to the window of her monastery. Outside, the great hub of Nexus Station turned slowly in the darkness of space. "We are not hiding anything," she said finally. "Humans share freely. We always have. Our martial arts, our science, our art, our music. We believe that knowledge grows when it is shared." "Then, why did no one know about these fighting arts before the challenge?" "Because no one asked." Master Li turned back to face Thorvek. "High Lord, for 50 years humanity has been part of the galactic community. In that time, how many species asked us about our culture, our history, our ways of fighting?" Thorvek was silent. "Exactly," Master Li said. "Everyone assumed they knew what humans were: weak, fragile, dependent on technology. No one thought to look deeper. No one thought to ask what we had learned in 10,000 years of surviving on a hostile world." "And what else have you learned?" Master Li smiled. "Many things. We have learned to grow food in any environment. We have learned to heal wounds that would kill other species. We have learned to build machines that extend our reach to the stars. We have learned to create art that moves the soul and music that speaks to hearts across all cultures." She sat back down across from Thorvek. "But most importantly, we have learned that weakness is not a flaw, it is a teacher. Every limitation forced us to grow. Every challenge made us stronger. We did not become great despite our weaknesses. We became great because of them." Thorvak considered her words. The Council fears that humanity is more powerful than we realized. They fear what this means for the balance of the galaxy. Power is not about conquest, Master Li said. Power is about choice. Humanity does not wish to rule the galaxy. We wish to be part of it. We wish to share and learn and grow together with all species. I believe you, Thorvak said, but not everyone will. Then we must show them, Master Li replied. As we showed you in the arena, not through conquest or domination but through demonstration, through teaching, through proving that humanity's greatest strength is not our fists or our weapons but our willingness to share what we have learned. A young Korath appeared at the door of the monastery. He was one of Thorvak's guards, but he moved with the fluid grace of someone who had studied human techniques. High Lord, the guard said, a message from the council. They have agreed to meet with the human delegation. Thorvak stood. It seems the next lesson is about to begin. Master Li rose as well. High Lord, may I ask you something? Of course. In the arena, when Brack faced me, what did you think would happen? Thorvak's face was unreadable for a moment. Then he laughed, a deep rumbling sound. I thought you would die in seconds. I thought your ambassador was a fool for sending you. I thought humanity was weak. And now I know that I was the fool. I judged strength only by muscles and weapons. I never considered that the greatest strength might be knowledge, patience, and wisdom. He bowed to her again. You taught me more than combat, Master Li. You taught me to see the universe differently. That is the true purpose of martial arts, Master Li said. Not to defeat enemies, but to defeat our own limitations. Not to prove strength, but to find the strength we did not know we had. Thorvak left the monastery, and Master Li watched him go. Outside her window, ships from 100 worlds moved through the station. Korath vessels flew alongside human freighters. Vrex cruisers held position near trading posts where they had once only come to conquer. The galaxy was changing. The challenge in the arena had been a small thing, 10 fights between warriors. But the ripples from that day continued to spread outward, touching worlds and species far beyond what anyone had imagined. 5 years after the arena challenge, the galaxy gathered once more. This time, they came not for combat but for a celebration. The first Galactic Martial Arts Festival would bring together fighters from 73 species, all sharing techniques that had begun with humanity but now belonged to everyone. Nexus Station had expanded to accommodate the crowds. New sections had been built, floating habitats attached to the great hub like petals on a flower. Billions of beings watched from screens across 1,000 worlds as the festival opened. Ambassador Chen Wei, now older and gray, stood on the main stage. Beside her stood representatives from every species that had adopted human martial arts. Korath stood next to Vrex. Zil shared space with beings from the far edges of the galaxy. 5 years ago, Chen Wei began, the Korath challenged humanity to prove our worth in combat. They expected to demonstrate our weakness. Instead, they learned something far more valuable. She paused, looking out at the vast crowd. They learned that weakness is not the opposite of strength. It is the beginning of strength. Every species that has adopted these arts has discovered the same truth. When we accept our limitations, we begin to transcend them. The festival began. For 3 days, fighters from across the galaxy demonstrated their arts. Some showed traditional human techniques, preserved and perfected. Others showed new variations, adapted for alien bodies and capabilities. A Vrex fighter demonstrated a form of wrestling that used their 6 arms in ways human wrestlers had never imagined. A Zil practitioner showed how their insect bodies could perform strikes faster than any human eye could follow. A Korath master displayed a style that combined human aikido with their species' natural strength, creating something entirely new. This is what we hoped for, said Colonel Drake, now retired from military service. He sat in the audience beside Ambassador Chen Wei, watching the demonstrations. Not humans teaching aliens, but everyone learning from everyone. True exchange. "It is more than we hoped for," Chen Wei replied. "When we accepted that challenge, I thought we might win respect. I never imagined we would start something like this." The final event of the festival was a demonstration match. 3 fighters took the floor together, a human, a Korath, and a Vrex. They moved in harmony, each attacking and defending in turn, showing how different techniques could blend together. The human was young, born after the original challenge. She had never known a time when humans and Korath were not allies. The Korath had trained on Earth, learning from human masters before returning to teach his own people. The Vrex was from the first generation to study martial arts, part of a species that had once known only conquest. Together, they created something beautiful. Their movements flowed like water, each fighter complementing the others. Strength and speed and technique combined into a dance of combat that brought tears to the eyes of the watching billions. When they finished, the arena was silent for a long moment. Then the applause began, rolling like thunder across Nexus Station and echoing on 1,000 distant worlds. In the front row of the audience, Master Li Meihua watched with quiet satisfaction. She was 81 years old now, and she had not fought in years. But her eyes still saw everything, and her heart swelled with joy at what she witnessed. High Lord Thorvek sat beside her, his massive form bent toward her small figure. "They are magnificent," he said. "All of them, human and Korath and Vrex, fighting together as if they were born to it." "They were born to it," Master Li replied. "Every thinking being has the capacity to learn and grow. We simply showed them how." "You showed them," Thorvek corrected. "On that day in the arena when you faced Brack, you showed the entire galaxy what humans truly are." "I showed them nothing they could not see for themselves. I simply gave them a reason to look." When the festival finally ended, Ambassador Chen Wei took the stage one last time. 5 years ago, we asked the question, why did humans invent martial arts? Now we have an answer. We invented them because we had to, because we were weak and the universe was dangerous, because we refused to accept that our limitations defined our potential. She looked out at the gathered crowd, at the faces of 73 species who had come together to celebrate what they had learned from each other. "But today, I want to ask a different question. Why did the galaxy adopt martial arts? Why did so many species embrace something that came from such a small, weak world?" She paused, letting the question hang in the air. "Because you recognize something in these arts, something universal, the desire to be better, the refusal to accept defeat, the belief that knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied." Master Li Meihua rose from her seat. She was frail now, and she needed help to stand. But she made her way to the stage, and the crowd parted for her like water around a stone. She stood beside Ambassador Chen Wei and faced the billions watching. "I am old," she said, her voice quiet but clear through the amplifiers. "I have lived long enough to see wonders I never imagined. When I was young, humans had not yet reached the stars. When I was middle-aged, we met our first alien species. And now, at the end of my life, I see the galaxy united in a way no one thought possible." She bowed, the traditional bow of a martial arts master, to her students. "Thank you, all of you, for proving that the arts I have practiced all my life are not just for humans. They are for everyone. They are for the universe." The crowd erupted in cheers. On 1,000 worlds, beings of every shape and size stood and applauded the tiny old human woman who had started it all. High Lord Thorvek stepped onto the stage. He towered over Master Li, but he bowed to her as to an equal. "Master Li Meihua," he said, his voice carrying across the arena. "On behalf of the Korath Empire and all the species of the Galactic Council, I declare you Grand Master of the Galactic Martial Arts. This title has never existed before. It is created for you, and only you in recognition of what you have given the universe." Master Li smiled. "I did not give the universe anything. I simply reminded it of what it already knew, that true strength comes from knowledge, and true knowledge comes from the willingness to learn." She looked out at the crowd one final time. Human and Korath, Vrex and Zil, species upon species stretching back as far as the eye could see and farther on the screens that broadcast to distant stars. "The martial arts will continue to grow," she said. "New techniques will be developed. Old techniques will be refined. Species that have not yet joined us will add their own wisdom to our shared knowledge. And one day, long after I am gone, the galaxy will look back on this time and remember." "Remember what, Master Li?" someone called from the crowd. She smiled, her old face creasing with joy. "Remember that it all started with a simple question, a challenge from warriors who thought strength was everything, and the answer from humanity that taught them otherwise." Master Li Mei Hua bowed one final time and left the stage. The crowd continued to cheer, but she did not hear them. She was thinking of all the students she had trained over the years, all the lessons she had taught, all the lives she had touched. The galaxy had learned why humans invented martial arts. They had learned it was not about fighting. It was about growing. It was about refusing to accept limits. It was about the endless pursuit of improvement. And now, the galaxy would carry that lesson forward, long after the last human returned to the stars from which they had come. This was the true victory. Not in the arena, but in the hearts and minds of billions of beings who had learned to see weakness as the beginning of strength. Humanity had given the galaxy a gift, and the galaxy had accepted it, embraced it, and made it their own. The festival ended, the crowds dispersed, ships departed for 1,000 worlds. But the knowledge remained, growing, spreading, changing the universe one student at a time. And somewhere in the void between stars, the spirit of martial arts continued its eternal dance, waiting for the next challenger, the next student, the next species to ask the ancient question: "How do I become stronger?" The answer, as always, began with a single lesson, a single step, a single choice to learn. And from there, anything was possible.